Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the Two Blokes.
94.7 The Pulse, the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. It's how Geelong spends Saturday morning, and this morning we're going to spend a bit of time with a bloke whose voice you have just heard. His name is Ross Wilson. He officially becomes a friend of the show because it's his second visit. Good morning to you, Ross.
Hi there, friends.
Great to have you on board. You got Neil here. Rob is the other voice you've already spoken with. I vividly remember the July 2021 conversation that we had with you, and you opened the batting with saying, "No, I've actually turned the vacuum cleaner off. That's what I do on Saturday mornings." Today you're not vacuuming the floor, I understand.
No, I'm on a little island off the coast of Lombok working on my tan.
Well, that sounds significantly more exotic than me moving house in Geelong this afternoon, but that's all good. Sounds good.
Well, it's good that you're doing naturally. Most of people around these days paint their tan on to save going out in the sun, but it's good to see you doing it a la natural.
Yeah, you get a bit of vitamin D and all that. It's so I'll look good when I come and see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Which is, not very far away at all. It is, in fact, Saturday the 7th of October, or in fact, Rocktober, as we probably should call it. But the reason for the chat is obviously that, but we always like to do a bit of background, and we did a bit of that last time round. Last time we spoke a lot about Daddy Cool, for obvious reasons. But, you've done a whole lot else apart from that. Take us on the journey beyond Daddy Cool.
Beyond Daddy Cool. I mean, after Daddy Cool, well, sort of at the end of Daddy Cool, I discovered a little band called Skyhooks.
They were okay, weren't they?
With them, yeah, mentored with them, and then ended up producing their first 3 albums, or as I like to remind people, the ones with tickets. So we had a great relationship, and I was their music publisher, and I had a sort of, I said, I've got to get these songs out there, and that's what we did. We got them out there, and they became the biggest thing since Daddy Cool.
Hey, Ross, producing is something that fascinates me because it's the ability to turn a potentially mundane song into something a bit special just by the introduction of a musical instrument or a guitar riff. I suppose the bagpipes in John Farnham song, for example, made it iconic. How is what you do in that area, without wanting you to pump your tyres up too much, is it just a little bit of a gift you think you've been given, or do you have to work really, really hard at finding the right mix?
Well, with Skyhooks, it was kind of easy. One, they had some fantastic songs and a great singer, and they all played. No one sounded like them. There's still no band in the world that sounded like Skyhooks. So I was a bit obsessed with them, and it made my job as a producer quite easy. So they stimulated my imagination. So I came up with a bunch of stuff. Like we had, in those days, synthesizers hardly existed, but we had them on a couple of tracks and making some noises, like at the start of a horror movie, going all that stuff. A lot of those things were my ideas that I helped throw in, and you're quite right. I think probably the greatest thing I came up with was in Ego's Not a Dirty Word, where it goes diddle 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 bing. Tibetan chime that was hit, diddle 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 bing.
There's just not enough bing in music anymore, is there?
Things like that can make you're quite right, can make a record,
Yeah, I remember the recent doco, for better word, John Farnham Finding the Voice, the big You're the Voice song, the American chap that wrote it, they found it, took his idea to a whole new level, which he was firstly insulted by, but then pretty happy about. So it's just about that, what you do with someone else's idea to completely change, can completely change it.
Well, you were playing Come Said the Boy just a moment ago, and that was written by Eric McCusker, the guitarist of Mondo Rock, but it was, as lead singer, it was my duty to kind of, like Farnham brings out the voice, it was my duty to sort of turn that performance of the lyrics and the great song that Eric wrote into something that people would sort of relate to. So, I remember like redoing the vocals on that quite a few times and just piecing it all together. So you're quite right.
Because there was that documentary series. Sorry, go on. Yep.
Yeah, you've got to think about it. It's like creative work.
because the documentary series Get Back that featured the Beatles, George Harrison in that walks in and says, "I've got this song, guys. What do you think?" And it was something. And then from that, what do you think, guys, through to what is, in my mind, my favourite Beatles song ever, the work that it must be phenomenal to take from that idea, as you say, through all the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Beatles are a great example of just four guys who knew how to do that, working off instinct, and they would come up with amazing things. I mean, when it's the bit where he's sitting around, Paul's sitting around, he comes up with, Coco Jojo was it? He starts writing "Get Back," and it sounds just like and it was great watching that because it's just exactly how it happens. You pick up a guitar and you're sort of making a few noises, and then stream of consciousness words comes out, and then after a while they're all jamming on the thing, Yeah.
Ross, I've always wanted to ask someone who in the know this, and I've got the right person to ask. Come Said the Boy, banned in Queensland. Did you guys have a little giggle behind your hand when that happened, or were you shocked and appalled?
It was banned on 2SM in Sydney. Everywhere else it was played, but 2SM at the time was... SM stands for St. Mary. You might have known that. But 2SM was the biggest pop station in Sydney. So that St. Mary, because it was owned primarily by the Catholic Church, making some money off the radio. And
poker machines, I found out too. So they're very good at that.
And apparently, like, a bishop was like driving to work or something and crossing the bridge and heard "Come Said the Boy" and went, "Oh, we can't have that conversation. How dare young people have sex?"
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole pretense upon which Living in the 70s sold so many records, wasn't it? It was so badly banned across Australia that I had to go and buy a copy.
They had to go buy the album.
Yeah.
It was banned songs, that's right.
Yeah, Bob Starkey told us that when we were chatting to him. Yeah, he said it was the best thing that could ever possibly have happened. And, of course, being banned, everyone's going, I better go and hear why it's banned.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So
anyway, that was good.
Yeah, so the 70s you were doing a lot of production work. Where does Mondo Rock come up? I mean, that would have been, 1980 or thereabouts. How did that all come to pass?
Well, Mondo Rock was the thing I put together once I'd finished working with Skyhooks. And I thought, well, my work's done here. I wouldn't mind getting back on stage because I had to take a couple of years off producing Skyhooks. And so I formed a band called Ross Wilson's Mondo Rock, which eventually became just Mondo Rock. And that was way back in 1976.
Okay, wow. I thought it was later than that, yeah.
Part-time thing for a little while, for a couple of years, and then we didn't release our first single till 78, and then our album, Primal Park, in 79. So it was sort of on the boil for a while. Once that album came out, it was had a permanent band and all that, but a few things came up, and I sacked that band and put a new band together, and still called them Mondo Rock, and that was when we put out our second album, Chemistry. Right, it was sort of a classic album and had a whole bunch of hits on it. The first one was State of the Heart. Once again, Eric McCusker had just joined the band, and he came up with that song, and it became our first gold single. So there you go. Awesome.
So why Mondo Rock rather than any other name? Where'd the name come from?
Well, there was this bunch of movies called, the biggest one was called Mondo Carne, which means dog's world. I didn't actually know what Mondo meant, but there was all these movies that were like sort of B-grade, sleazy, just fake kind of documentaries. Like there was thing like Mondo Mod, about mods and stuff, Mondo Hollywood, about the underbelly of Hollywood. And so there was a big slew of them after Mondo Carne because it was a big success. And so I thought it meant sort of B-grade something or other. That's what it meant to me. So, well, rock and roll's kind of B-grade. That's what we've got to wallow in it. And I rang up my agent, and he said, "What do we've got this gig in your new band. What's it called?" I said, Mondo Rock. And he said, "Oh, that's great." What's that? And he said, "Well, I'm Italian. Mondo means world."
Oh, there you go.
I went, "Oh, fantastic. World of rock world." He says perfect. Anyway, my agent was happy, and it went on for another till 1990. And we've had a few reunions since then.
Because Rob thinks Mondo's the thing that comes between Sunday and Tuesday.
Fun.
Well, I was brought up in the country, Ross. You've got to give me some slack. You've obviously worked with a lot of great Australian musicians and singers.
Yeah.
If you were to put together the very best, and we'll give it a little bit. We'll have a lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass guitar, a drummer. We'll have maybe a saxophonist and 2 backing singers.
Could have a keyboard in there.
Yeah, chuck a keyboard
our
in.
mate Brian Cannon doesn't get to look in with his guitar.
Who?
And sounds like Farnham's band.
Yeah, it does a bit like that. But who do you reckon would give us the biggest thrill and you'd have the best time working with, your ideal group? And maybe that's a bit hard to make you think of all, but whack together your favourite people that you've worked with.
Well, my favourite people at the moment are the band I've got, which is...
Yeah, well played. They might be listening.
And they're all, like, really talented, and a couple of them are, like, extremely useful session musicians, and for instance, the title track of my new EP, She's Stuck on Facebook All the Time, is produced by the guitarist James Ryan, and he runs riot over that track. He plays incredible guitar on it. And so, yeah, I love working with those guys. It's fantastic. I jump up on stage with other people every now and again. I get up with Barnesy every now and again when he comes down and plays Rod Laver. We always have to sing together. So I get around, you know.
We've got Russell Morris coming up. We've had Brian
Yep.
Cadd, the joy of talking to Glenn Shorrock, and I keep saying I'm stunned by how ridiculously humble you dudes are, but you all seem to have this incredible respect and admiration for each other, which I reckon's great.
We're a pretty good vintage. Like I was looking at Dal Braithwaite, Russell Morris, you just mentioned, Joe Camilleri, and me. We're all like born in the same year, you know. So like I don't know what was in the water at the time, but it was pretty good.
Yeah,
clearly
Coming up with Aussie singers, you know.
Now, another band, if you want to call it that, maybe show might be a better way of putting, was the Old Sky Daddies. I would have said that was mid to late 90s. That would have been a fairly tame event, I would have thought.
Well, I wasn't involved in that, but it has Ross Hannaford from...
I thought it was you. It was Ross Hannaford.
Freddie Strauchs from Skyhooks, and Wilbur Wilde, of course, from Old 55, which is where the Old come from.
Yep.
Old, Sky from Skyhooks, and Daddies from Daddy Cool. So that's how that all came about. I was a bit kind of taken aback when they decided to do that, but on the other hand, everyone's got to make a living, and they are a pretty fun sort of a group, you know.
Could have been a bit ugly at the after party, I would have thought.
I think so.
How do you go at the after parties these days, Ross? Clearly on the wrong side of 70, but fantastic. You're still working, but is it now just purely professional? Get in there, do your song, and then get in the car and go home.
Back to the motel and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And a book.
Even the fact that it's a motel rather than a glamorous hotel. I like that. That's really good. So you are still producing great music, and we're going to see you at the Palais shortly, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But
no, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
She's stuck on Facebook all the time. I've got a funny feeling it's a little bit satirical as well. Talk us through the EP and the song particularly.
Well, she's stuck on Facebook all the time. It could be he stuck on Facebook. It could be they. It's not gender specific, but I'm singing it from a man's point of view. And it's all about, they say, ain't got no time for loving, you know, got no time for a hug or a kiss or anything, because going down the rabbit hole on social media. So that's what the song's all about, in that with a little tongue-in-cheek kind of a way, a Ross Wilson way. So yeah, everybody, just get your heads off your computer and your phone and give your loved one a hug. That's what we're saying.
Sorry, Rob's just stuck on Facebook at the moment. He's not listening.
Yes, I am. I'm taking it all in, Ross, and I've had an epiphany of recent times, and I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it mentions Instagram and Twitter, now named X. I'm a bit behind the times there, you know.
Yeah. Well, now it becomes a retro song.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's suddenly more valuable. And presumably people can buy that through the streaming services. But folks, don't just stream it, buy it. Let's put a few bucks into Ross's pocket.
There's one song on that that's really starting to take off. It's hit the top of my Spotify Ross Wilson most played, and that's a song called Housewife in a Floral Dress, which is...
Again, which could be house husband in a pair of floral shorts.
Well, you never know.
Again, you've picked Rob.
Favorite. That's one of my favourites. So we're previewing all these at. I will probably play a couple at the Palais. in Geelong.
Well, we should talk about that. As Rob said when he was talking to you before you got on air, we last spoke to you in July 2021, and we had a vague recollection that was because you were out celebrating 50 years of Eagle Rock, and the celebration of 50 years of Eagle Rock continues.
Continues because there was a big success, regional gigs that we did. So the promoter's gone, we need to do more of those, and we're going to like Horsham, Hamilton, and all these places, and including Geelong.
Hooray!
Victoria's largest regional city
and best.
One of my favourite places. Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at the dates.
Just been refurbished, so we're interested in seeing what's happening there.
Yes, pretty special. I was just saying, I went to the new arts precinct last night for a show, but the Palais has been ramped up. We're really blessed in Geelong for venues now where artists like you can come back and do it in comfort and style.
Yep, awesome, and the audience too.
So looking at the dates, because we do have listeners outside of Geelong, Ross, so just name some of the places you're going to be, and people can go to your website and get the tickets. But it kicks off on Friday the 29th of September, which is this coming Friday, so you better get an aeroplane at some stage soon, up at Caloundra. Then we'll come back to the 7th of October at the Palais in Geelong, because that is the one we want to talk about. But you are going to visit Wollongong, Cronulla, Richmond, the Camelot Lodge in New South Wales, wherever that is, or it's sold out anyway, Echuca, Swan Hill, Heathcote, Airlie Beach, Laurieton, Tuncurry, Horsham, Hamilton, Archies Creek, Healesville, Queenscliff, Dandenong, that's an afternoon show for the older folk. Sunshine Beach in Queensland, that is also an afternoon show. Cardinia Cultural Centre in Pakenham. Who said that there's no culture in Pakenham? Colac, Kyneton, Ringwood, Wodonga, Shepparton, Thornbury, Traralgon and Bairnsdale. We're going to get you a hit with Lucky Star called I've Been Everywhere, Man.
Man, that's incredible places I'm going there. So, yes, everybody, I'm very busy up until Christmas.
And that goes through till March, so busy after Christmas as well.
I am.
So the one that we are keen to promote for you is Saturday the 7th of October. That is the week after Grand Final. If the Lions win, I want you to wear a jumper for me on stage, please, Ross. Now, you can get change out of $70 for a ticket, Rob.
Can you?
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of change, but change out of $70 for a ticket. Concession $62.70. That's all general admission, folks. So get the tickets and get there early so you can sit up the front and wave to Ross. He promises to wave to anyone who waved to you. Is that right, Ross? That's a free offer?
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. Oh, we like free offers. The Ross Wilson and the Peaceniks. Presumably, since we're celebrating 52 years of Eagle Rock, that'll get a run. Some of the other songs they can expect to hear.
Oh, yeah, Mondo Rock, Cool World, Come Sit the Boy, Chemistry, Daddy Cool, Come Back Again, and a bunch of other Daddy Cool songs, plus some of this new stuff.
Excellent. So if someone was to go to the Geelong show and then a couple of weeks later front up at Wollongong, are they going to see the same show, or has it changed most nights?
Similar. We want to, because I'm thinking that people from Geelong won't be driving to Wollongong.
The Wollongong folks will drive to Geelong, you can be sure.
So we'll be doing pretty much the same show.
Excellent. Well, that's what we like to hear, a bit of consistency. Ross, we wish you very well. If you get down here on the Friday night and you're bored on Saturday morning, just wander into the studios and say good day.
Awesome. Pulse FM. Yeah,
that's where we are. Great to chat, Ross. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks down here and keeping in touch with you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And hello, Geelong. We'll see you soon.